last month, the Prime Minister announced in Parliament that there will indeed be an inquiry into the COVID crisis. But unfortunately, we have no guidance as yet as to what that inquiry will look like, whether it will be a public inquiry constituted under the Inquiries Act or an independent inquiry.
So, Sarah, can you tell us about those two different types of inquiry?
Right, well, an inquiry which is called under the Inquiries Act is called by a minister in the government. And the pros of it is that it's thought to be more thorough and can go beyond deaths to look at systemic and governmental failings and failings of others. It has a distinct con, however, in that it can take years to convene, deliberate and report. And clearly, any conclusions would come too late to assist in the preparation for the second wave, which is anticipated this winter. There's also a significant difficulty, I think, with an inquiry under the Inquiries Act, in that it is called by a minister who sets out the terms of reference for the inquiry, because this inquiry would necessarily have to examine the actions and the appropriateness of those actions, timeliness of the government itself, of which he or she is a member. And that sets up a clear conflict and tension. So that makes me feel a little bit uneasy about that. The big con, of course, which everyone has in mind, is that it's very costly. It's also limited to the terms of reference. Now, an alternative route would be to go for an independent inquiry. Now, potentially that could be quicker and less costly. And there's issues, however, about whether that will be truly independent. And that comes back really to who is appointed as the chair. The con, I think probably for both the independent inquiry and an Inquiries Act inquiry, will be that those who are involved in government and the NHS and elsewhere clearly need to concentrate on the current position and the preparation for the coming winter. And it's felt that an inquiry at this time would be a distraction and even potentially harmful. One has to weigh that in the balance, however, because the alternative is that the lessons which we might learn from the first wave are going to come too late. So it's really a bit of a balancing act as to how we go forward with this.
Yeah, so speed is really of the essence, isn't it? Because everyone wants an inquiry now. These potential investigations and inquiries will take a lot of time. But I have heard that there's an inquiry that's been launched by MPs headed by Layla Moran. I think that was opened in June, I think, and has already had a call for evidence, although I've not heard any update about the progress that's being made in relation to that.
No, I'd heard about that too, and I heard that they'd had something like 1,000 submissions, and some pretty important bodies were getting involved with that, you know, professional bodies, etc. But I don't know how it's going on. I think there was a group of about 50 MPs involved in that. Of course, the question remains of when it's going to report, and then when it does report, what impact that's going to have on future action.
That's right.
Well, I suppose if we're going to look at a public or independent inquiry, because we know that definitely is going to happen, at least according to the government, it's definitely going to happen. Who would be involved in that, do you think?
Well, immediately the core participants that spring to mind will be bereaved families, those who've been affected by COVID, so not just the bereaved families. Care homes, of course, because we're talking about the deaths that have occurred in care homes, the insurers for those care homes, representative bodies. They will all be keen, I'm pretty sure, to have that core participant status.
Yeah, of course, the NHS will want to be involved.
Yeah.
And one would have thought PHE, but of course, Public Health England is going to be abolished as of the beginning of September, but is going to be replaced by the National Institute for Health Protection. I suppose as well, though, because the government has always said that it was following the advice of the scientists and SAGE, they're going to play an important part in any inquiry.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few people who might be involved. Just looking back, though, Jane, we talked in our first part about inquests. If there's a public inquiry, what effect would that have on inquests?
Well, there's specific provision, obviously not thinking about COVID when it was drafted, but in the Coroners and Justice Act, that there is provision for the coroner to suspend inquests pending the outcome of any inquiries. So the fact that there are inquests that have already been opened doesn't prevent them from being put on hold whilst the inquiries are ongoing.
I see. So the objective really is to avoid having two different inquiries into the same death and potentially coming to two different conclusions.
Absolutely, because they're being conducted and they have different terms of reference, or in the coroner's case, the scope of the inquest.
Yeah. So if one's called, we'll go back to the public inquiries. If one was called to give evidence in a public inquiry, or if one was named as a core participant, what can be done now to prepare for that, do you think?
Well, I think the inquiries, as you say, may take a long time to set up and hear evidence. We all think that we've got pretty good memories and long memories, but it is important to maintain and preserve the evidence that everyone is collecting now in relation to COVID. So it's important to maintain medical records about the purchase of equipment, employment policies, all sorts of documents which may be relevant to either an inquest or an inquiry, maintain them and not to inadvertently destroy them, because we know, we both felt, we've come across situations where records which are out of date have been destroyed, because those records and documents will be crucial to help people prepare for giving evidence in those inquiries and providing their statements, and there will be provision for those documents to be disclosed.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine that it's absolutely essential for any inquiry to have an established and clear timeline of events when analysing what should and shouldn't have been done and the state of knowledge at any particular moment in time. Yeah. I suppose individuals would also want to liaise with their professional and industry bodies, because I suppose to make it manageable, coordinated responses and submissions from various parties who'd be interested is preferable to thousands of individuals putting in separate submissions.
Absolutely, and the inquiries will also be keen to limit costs where they possibly can, and group submissions will help with that process.
Right. Anyway, well, thanks for joining us. I hope this is helpful to you. If you've got any queries about the matters that we've discussed in either this part or our inquests part, please don't hesitate to get in touch with Jane or myself directly. Thank you very much for joining us.